Our viewer question today comes from someone who asks, I am 70 years old and my doctor told me that it is too late to become vegan. Is that true?
I've heard that as well, and the answer is no, it's not true. Theoretically, anybody can become vegan at any age. However, there's a little kernel of truth in this concern that we really do need to deal with, and it goes like this. I've had quite a number of patients, and this man might have been one of them, said, I tried to adopt a vegan diet once, but it didn't feel so good. After a few weeks, my energy levels started going down. I began feeling I wasn't as vital and muscular, and then I ate some meat, and whoa, I felt better. And I must be a carnivore by nature. Vegan diets just don't work for me. I'm not going to do that again. And when I hear that, I say, what's behind that? Because we're not really carnivorous apes. I've delivered lots of babies who grew up raised as vegans, and they turn into full-size, healthy people. They've had vegan children themselves. And it certainly works just fine. They're lean, healthy, energetic people. And yet I hear this story, and might that be what that doctor is saying to the patient? Here's what I think is behind that, and the whole phenomenon of I tried to be a vegan once and it didn't work. I think what's happening is this. Normally, human infants should be breastfed for a year or two, preferably, and then weaned onto plant-based foods and get on with their existence as a plant-eating hominid, which we really are. We're not carnivorous apes. But in our society, we don't do that. With all the love in the mother's heart and the father's heart, at age 6 months, when the baby is still nursing on the breast, that jar of baby lamb and baby chicken and baby veal is open and spooned into the baby's mouth. And from that point on, 3 times a day for the rest of their lives, the animal flesh is slathered on that child's intestine, and all through childhood, the rest of infancy and early childhood. By age 3, they're in the fast food restaurant eating their Happy Meals, all through their childhood years, puberty, their teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, in this case, 60, 70 years eating animal flesh 3 times a day. Well, I think that's going to create a dependency in your body on a supply of animal muscle. Why? Because when you bite into a chicken breast or a burger or a steak, your body is flooded with animal muscle molecules. You're biting into the muscle of an animal, and your body is flooded, your bloodstream, with carnitine and creatine, choline, and fragments of myoglobin, these fragments of animal muscle, which our body can make. Your body can certainly make carnitine and creatine, but if it's in the bloodstream pretty much constantly, bacon and eggs for breakfast, cheeseburgers for lunch, chicken for dinner, pizzas, with sausage on them, they're constantly keeping a supply morning till night of these muscle-based nutrients in our bloodstream all the time. Well, what's our body going to do? How is it going to react? Well, instead of making more of your own carnitine and creatine, I think, especially in childhood, those genes in your DNA that call for carnitine and creatine synthesis, they're going to downregulate. They're going to say, we don't need to make this stuff. It's always in the bloodstream. There's plenty of carnitine around, plenty of creatine, plenty of choline. And so people downregulate their own production of carnitine and creatine, which is okay as long as it's still continuing to be in the diet. Now, that meat-based diet that supplies the carnitine and creatine constantly is also damaging the arteries, setting the person up for strokes, setting off cancers in the colon wall, making leaky guts for autoimmune disease. It's creating havoc in the body, but it is keeping a constant level of carnitine, creatine, et cetera, in the bloodstream. So the person probably doesn't make much of their own. Then at age 70, they see a film like Forks Over Knives or What the Health, or they read John Robbins' Diet for New America, and the plant-based light goes on and they adopt a vegan diet. Most folks don't have a problem with that. Most folks, their enzymes can gear up and they make enough of their own muscle nutrients to not feel the difference. But some folks, and it might be a fellow like this in his 70s, it might take weeks, months, even a year or two for their DNA and their enzyme machinery to gear up so they're making their own muscle-based nutrients. And during that time, they draw down on their own carnitine stores, creatine stores. And when I say carnitine and creatine, that's a shorthand for hundreds of different nutrients related to muscle metabolism that is supplied in the meat. They draw down on their own supply of these molecules, and it will feel so great. And then they eat that salmon or that chicken or that beef, and their body once again is flooded with these molecules, not being disrespectful, almost like a heroin addict who floods his body with heroin. Oh, he feels better. And the meat eater says, whoa, I feel great. Vegan, schmegan, I'm a carnivore. But this is not normal human physiology. This is an acquired dependency created by feeding a human infant animal flesh 3 times a day since infancy. No other primate does that. No gorilla does that. No bonobo does that. But we've adopted this. And again, it comes from a space of love from the parents who want to get as much good nutrients into their child as possible. But inadvertently, we may be creating this dependency on animal muscle that comes back to bite us years later when we try to discontinue that. So what's that man to do? Is it too late for him? Absolutely not. He should give it a try at a fairly high protein or generous protein version of a vegan diet. Lots of lentils and beans and peas and chickpeas. He may take it easy on the beans there. He may have to introduce them just at a tablespoon at a time, but ramp up so it's a fairly hefty protein style of vegan nutrition. And he may do just fine without a problem. Probably a good vegan multivitamin to help with the metabolism during that transition. But most of them should do fine. But if they find their energy levels going down and they feel better when they eat meat, these are folks, if in their heart they know they should and want to go plant-based, then these folks should adopt a schedule to slowly taper off. And I've had men at True North Health Center when I worked there after they did their fast and their transition to a healthier diet. At their exit interview, they said, Doc, I'm going to eat meat twice a week. I just need it. Okay, fine with me. It sure beats 3 times a day. And they're going to be much healthier for it if they're eating a whole food plant-based diet, but twice a week there's a little animal muscle in it, or they're going to be way ahead of the game. But then I would encourage them to start lengthening the time in between the animal flesh. And I would hear from these same fellows, they would come back a couple months later, we're just eating it once a week. You see them a couple months later, we're about twice a month now. You see them a couple months later, we stopped buying the stuff. It stopped even being appetizing. And so it took them a year to taper off. That's wonderful. That's fine. Take as long as it takes, but keep inching your way towards a whole food plant-based diet. Give your body plenty of time to gear up its enzyme machinery to make this transition. Be gentle with yourself. But it's never too late to eat more plants and eat less meat. And if you can make that complete transition, all the better for you, for the animals, for the planet, for everyone. But it can be done at any age. And people certainly have done it. And I would encourage people to do that in the manner that I mentioned. And be gentle with yourself, but don't stop making progress. Hi, everyone. Dr. Michael Klaper here, announcing our new format for our Q&A with Dr. K. Each day, Annie Hagen will be asking me one question that's been sent in by our viewers. So if you want to see if your question is getting answered, do join us for our daily Q&A with Dr. K right here. Hope to see you then.